Hey, what's up, everybody?
What's going on?
This is Tony.
And I'm Jenny.
And we are Lido Loca, and it's the Lido Loca Cruise Podcast.
Yes, it is.
It's episode 9.
Wow.
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Welcome to another week. It's the first week of February, Jenny.
It is. We're going on our second month here in Florida.
Our second month here in Florida.
And it's still cold.
Yes, it's still cold. You've got a sweater on today, I see.
I do.
Why are you wearing a sweater today?
Because it's chilly.
What's the temperature? Everybody out there that lives in someplace cold, I know that you guys are rolling your eyes.
Exactly.
And that's fair, but...
And listen, when we were in North Carolina, it was snowing up there this past week.
It's 57, Jenny, but okay. It's a chilly 57, I feel like.
Right. And you know what? We're going to be super thankful in the summer that this house is a little chilly because of the tile.
I think so. I think that's an adjustment, really, getting used to having tile instead of carpet.
Right.
I don't know if I like it.
I love it.
I have to wear socks more often now.
It's much easier to clean.
Okay, I'll give you that. So I guess it's a Florida thing. The main rooms have tile, and like the kitchen's got linoleum, but then the bedrooms have
The
carpet.
kitchen has tile.
Something has linoleum in
the laundry room.
The laundry room.
Right.
Too many floor.
Not many people want to go in the laundry room anyway.
This is what I find when you have this many different kind of flooring options. It's a little confusing.
Yeah. Speaking about laundry rooms.
Yes.
Have you ever frequented Did you go to do laundry in Japan? I know when we're together, we don't do laundry on the ship.
I did not do laundry in Japan.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of people that do the laundry
on the cruise ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I like the idea of maybe packing less,
right,
and doing laundry on the cruise ship, but I haven't done it yet. To me, and I used to go to the laundromat when I was younger, that kind of thing, no big deal. But on the cruise, I feel like I would just be sitting with my laundry. Like, okay, let's imagine it. Say that your cabin is about 20 cabins from the laundrette, or a whole nother deck from the laundry facility on the cruise ship.
Right.
Are you just going to drop all your clothes off and then go do something else and then come back for your clothes, or are you sitting with your clothes?
I'm probably going to sit with my clothes.
Yeah, who wants to do that? I don't.
Right. Now listen,
it's a tough call. I mean,
I would get my laundry done
if it keeps you from carrying stuff. Maybe.
Right. Like I would pay to have it done, so then you don't have to sit with it.
Yeah.
Like send out a bag.
Send out a bag. To me, I guess it just depends how much it costs. But yeah, I don't want to spend an hour or two sitting with my laundry.
No, but I do think that over a 7-day cruise, you probably do have to start doing laundry.
I would think so. If you want to just go with just a carry-on, right?
Right.
All right. So it is February. We have a couple big events coming up in February. We're going to celebrate our anniversary this month.
Yes, 17 years.
Can you believe we made it another year? 17 years feels like a lifetime of happiness.
I would totally agree. 17
years. Wow. And we're back where it all kind of began. When we met, you were right here in Florida, in Spring Hill, Florida.
I know.
And here it's come full circle.
It has. It's very exciting.
17 years.
17 years I've been putting up with, you've been putting up with me.
How dare you?
You are the luckiest man ever.
I am the luckiest man
you
ever.
Are.
I feel like a poker player that gets pocket aces on every hand. How do you like that for an analogy?
That's a good one.
February. Also have an event coming up on February the 6th. We have a little bit of a meet and greet at the cruise terminal there in Tampa. Yeah. So if you want to come out and meet Jenny and I, it's part of Expedia Cruise Ship Center's the South Tampa office, right?
Yes.
Is that the only Expedia there that's hosting that, or we're just going to have a booth there?
So it's going to be a whole bunch of suppliers, like different cruise lines and travel representatives, and there'll be some special pricing if you book that night.
Do we have a booth? Like, do we know a booth number for people to come see us, or
no? It's the whole terminal.
All right, so they have to find us.
That's right.
All right, but we will be there for meeting and greeting and hanging out. So if you want to meet Jenny and I, come to the
Terminal 6.
Cruise Terminal 6 in Tampa. At what time did we say it was?
It starts at 6, so it's 6 to 8.
6 to 8.
And it's complimentary parking in the port at Terminal 6.
Awesome.
Yeah.
and that is on February the 6th.
That's right. And we've been warned that there is a lightning game that night.
Oh.
So probably take Kennedy Boulevard in instead.
Okay, so what you're saying is that you're going to be at the meet and greet, and I'm going to be at a Tampa Bay Lightning game. Are you surprising me right now with tickets?
I mean, that might be right.
So
I think our friends that are also agents will be going, so maybe you could run out with Sal.
Oh, very nice. No, I guess I will be there. No. Happy to meet. And if you guys send us an email, send Jenny an email at jbarnette@cruiseshipcenters.com. That's JBARNETTE at cruiseshipcenters.com. Let us know you're going to be there so we can be on the lookout. And that's also the email address you need to use if you have any questions about travel or if you need any help along those lines.
That's right. This way I can RSVP for you.
You can RSVP. So, Jenny, I guess I looked today. I looked at the wrong number today.
You know what? It's also Valentine's Day.
Oh, Valentine's Day, Schmalentine's Day.
Every day is special with you.
Cupid strikes us every morning.
That's right.
Why do we get married so close to Valentine's Day?
And my birthday.
And your birthday. Like it's a gift bonanza for you.
Yeah. Like it's it's not good.
Oh, it's good. Okay, so I pulled up the wrong countdown today. It's been 59 days since we were last on the sea. 59 days.
That's a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a long time.
Are you going to surprise me with a cruise this month?
You're the one that books the cruises. I don't think I can. I don't think I can pull that off. But I would.
Well, you need to talk to Rob about that.
Oh, that's right. Maybe he can get us hooked
Maybe
up.
he can hook you up.
But the cool thing is we're closer to a cruise than we are further away from a cruise. So 40 days till our cruise on the NCL breakaway.
Yes, and they sent me an email today to set up our times for all of the shows.
Oh, I love the shows.
Getting me excited.
I love the shows. That kind of helps us segue into today's main topic. I think we should talk a little bit about ship size. And we've said it pretty publicly before that the Oasis of the Seas is our favorite cruise ship. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest cruise ship that we've been on. But at the same time, we both really enjoyed the Carnival Fantasy, our first cruise ship.
Absolutely.
And that's a really small ship.
And it's very special to us, too.
Do you think... So I'm trying to think the best way to get into this. I might be changing my opinion on what my favorite cruise ship is. I don't know. Why did you like the Oasis of the Seas? Did it have something to do with the size?
Probably, right? Because even though there are, 6,000 passengers on that ship, you never felt crowded.
Right.
Even on a sea day. Now, of course, the pools do get, pretty busy, the hot tubs, but I never felt like, it was shoulder to shoulder or anything like that.
It's an interesting observation. So do you feel like you feel more crowded on a small ship or more crowded on a large ship?
I think that I felt the most crowded on the Liberty.
On the Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of a medium-sized ship.
Right.
I felt crowded on the Liberty and the Breeze, which are both kind of medium-sized ships.
The Breeze as well, yeah.
So it goes back to layout. I didn't feel too crowded on the Fantasy. The truth about the Fantasy, though, is a bunch of people got off because of the situation with the cruise.
Yeah, but we were also on the Elation and the Paradise.
Yeah, and both the same size ship.
Right.
They didn't really feel crowded. I did not feel crowded at all on the Oasis of the Seas. There were a couple pain points where you feel crowded on every cruise ship, right? Sometimes at the elevators.
Absolutely.
If everybody goes to eat dining at the same time, or waiting for a show. That seems to run true for all different sizes of cruise ship. The thing I liked about the Oasis and the thing that I would give to large cruise ships is they have a lot more space to work with, right? So Royal Caribbean made that open layout, and so you could walk into, say, Central Park, and it would be several, decks high of openness, and so you didn't feel all that enclosed. Some cruise ships where they just stack deck on top of deck, you really can feel that. Like, okay, there's a ceiling above me, and I'm going to go up a stairwell, and now there's another ceiling above me, and it all feels kind of tight, and you got to escape to someplace like an atrium or something.
See, and that's probably
the
beauty of the Fantasy class as well. That in the atrium you can see out.
Yeah.
They usually have the glass on top.
Yeah, I think that's true because the atrium, the Fantasy class, it's not very long to go from the front to the back, to go
Right.
from the bow to the stern, from the forward to the aft, whatever way you want to call
Nice
it.
aft.
It's not very far. And so because the atrium takes up a big part of that, it does feel like, and the Lido. So I think, that's really kind of an interesting observation because, the atrium's a big area
Right.
and it's wide open. And then maybe the promenade area, that's a little tight because you got the casino and all those shops. But then you go right out of that back to the Lido, which is kind of a big open area. And so even though that's a really small cruise ship, you have these two big open areas and then just one limited area where the ceiling's on top of you. So maybe that is what it is with the fantasy class, because it's so small proportionately, you have a lot of open area there.
Right.
That's pretty cool. Now, it's easy to say that on the big cruise ships, you're going to get more amenities. So I'll help me think of the things that were on the Oasis. You had the Aqua Theater, you had the ice skating rink, you had zip line. Of course, you had water slides. You had a whole, sports area with putt-putt and basketball and pickleball, rock climbing. Of course, they had a big theater. They had everything that you could think of.
Kids pool area,
multiple pools. I think maybe 4 pools on there. A huge area at the front of the ship just for adults only.
They had a merry-go-round.
They had a merry-go-round, and so there's a lot more real estate on a big ship, and so therefore there's a lot more amenities. That aqua pool at the back of the ship, nobody else is doing that.
Right.
And there's no way that you could do that on a smaller cruise ship. But I guess if you start checking off if you're going to do those things, maybe that's not an advantage.
Right. Now, I'm going to tell you, I probably don't do half of those things on the cruise ship, but I have to say I enjoy watching those being done and utilized. I felt like the Oasis was a little city. If I wanted to go shopping, I could, walk down to the promenade. If I wanted to, think of looking at nature, I could look at the Central Park, which is absolutely phenomenal and beautiful.
Right.
And then if I just wanted to feel like I was on Coney Island, I went out to the boardwalk.
I tell you what, an appealing thing about those Oasis class are the different neighborhoods.
Right.
Like it really does make it, like you said, makes it feels like a city that you can go do all these different experiences. Where I would say the fantasy, we'll just keep comparing the fantasy and the Oasis. With the fantasy, it just seems all like one cruise ship, right?
It does, but it has everything that you would want or need, right? It had the slides. It has a pool. It has hot tubs. It has the buffet. It has the casino. Has the atrium. But that's it, really.
It really is. I mean, and they're limited. The thing that was impressive about the Oasis, all those different shows had different casts of performers. So there was one set of performers for the Aqua show, and one set of performers for the Broadway play, and one set of performers for the ice skating show. And that's what a big ship allows you to do. It lets you diversify, your budget for entertainment. Where on the fantasy, I feel like the guy that was the lead singer in the in the show, of course, he was in every show that they had. It was the same cast.
Right.
But he might have been the guy that, checked us in at the muster drill and maybe, offered us a drink or something. They wear a lot of hats there. And so it's a little hard for them to just focus on the performing. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it does seem like the entertainment's a little more challenged on a smaller ship.
Right. But with that said, also, I think that on that fantasy, you have a cruise director, right, that is just phenomenal.
Yes.
So
that made a big difference.
Absolutely. Like on the Oasis, the cruise director was fine, but really not, you had to really find your own fun.
Right.
You had to find your fun. Whereas on the fantasy, I felt like they pushed you to have that fun. And, the cruise director was a huge part of that ship.
I would agree with that. Yeah, that's an interesting thing that I guess once you have 6,000 people, it's really hard to hype everybody up.
Right.
I think we had less than 1,000 people on the fantasy, maybe 700-800 people by the time people had left. I don't remember what the sailing was, but it was enough. The crowd wasn't big enough that the cruise director couldn't get the crowd hyped.
Right.
And that's pretty cool. I mean, I do think about the party that we had in the atrium. That's probably one of the best times I've ever had on a cruise ship.
Absolutely.
And again, small cruise ship, old cruise ship, somewhat broken cruise ship at the time. But I had a really good time. Like both of those experiences reinforced the idea that, cruising is so diverse that it's hard to have a bad experience cruising.
Right. And it's what you make of it.
It is what you make of it.
How are you going to, what's your takeaway?
Exactly. Now, we like to try some specialty dining. Of course, the big ship's going to have the advantage there, right? So on the Fantasy, there really was no specialty dining other than an upgrade that you could get in the main dining room.
Right. And with that said, though, the main dining room was very good.
The main dining room was good, but again, on the Oasis, you had a main dining room, but you also had Chops, and you had the other places that we ate, the Mexican place, Sabores,
Right.
and you had the Italian place, and there was a lot of options. Now,
But did you have a guy's burger?
That's what I was going to say. I was holding off on the one thing that, it's going to be easy to say that the one thing that the Fantasy had that the Oasis of the Seas did not was a guy's burger.
And the Blue Guana.
Yeah, but I mean, we had the Johnny Rockets burger that we paid money for.
Right.
There's some people in this room that think that the Johnny Rockets burger is better.
Are you talking about me?
There's some people like me that know that the guy's burger was better. But yeah, so it's pretty interesting. Now, when we went on the Carnival Sunrise, we made some statements that we thought maybe that ship was the perfect length.
Right.
How important is it to you, like how much walking that you have to do on the cruise ship?
I like to get where I'm going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was one that I can't remember what ship it was, but I felt like we were always walking, from the front to the back, and it just was. We were not in a good location. I mean, I feel like the Oasis, even though it was so big,
Yeah.
it's very well planned out.
I do think that's true. Because if you think about it, they put all the entertainment venues together.
Right.
And so a lot of times our evening would look like we would go eat somewhere and then we would go see multiple shows, right? We might see the main theater show. We might duck into some comedy. We might check out something. And all those things are right there together.
Right.
And so I think that does kind of minimize the walking on a big ship. Maybe a small ship, you've got the theater at the front and then you might have a lounge at the back, and still not a lot of walking, but I think Oasis overcomes that by putting all those venues together.
Right, and I think they overcome it also by, they only have the 2 elevators. So if you have to get somewhere, you always knew, like, all right, well, let's go down to the promenade. You walk through the promenade, so you feel like you're someplace anyway.
Right.
Getting to where you need to go. So I think that having that is kind of cool instead of walking through, staterooms, hallways of staterooms.
Right. Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, I don't really like walking the halls so much. A lot of times those stateroom halls aren't that big, and I'm worried about being too noisy walking up and down the halls. I do like where there's a good area to walk through. Honestly, I don't know the ships, but we've been on some ships where you'd have to go up a floor and then walk forward and then go down a floor to get around a galley or something like that. The cool thing with the Oasis is they build all of the places you need to go on top of all that.
Right.
And so you never have to worry about trying to get around a galley or something like that. On some of the smaller ships, that's just the way it is. They might have to have a galley in the middle of the ship that you have to walk around, or a dining room that you can't get all the way through.
Well, what's nice about that also, though, with the Oasis is you do not really have to worry about where your room is located, if it's going to be under a galley or not.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Right.
That's interesting. I did do a video talking about cruise cabins that you don't want to pick.
Right.
And that's on our Lido Loca cruise show channel. So you can see this video, you can see this podcast in video form. There's a channel just for the podcast. It's called the Lido Loca Cruise Podcast channel. I'll leave a link for that. And then our main channel is the Lido Loca Cruise Show. I did a video about cabins to avoid when you're booking, and we talked a lot about noise, right? Like you don't want to be somewhere that's noisy. That's one thing I want to ask you. The Oasis, they have cabins that overlook the Royal Promenade.
Right.
And Do you think that that's a good cabin to book or not a good cabin to book from a noise perspective? Because there's a lot going on.
Right, but I've heard that you can't hear the noise.
I think they do a good job of soundproofing. It's interesting though, because even with we were in the Central Park balcony, and you got to be careful when your curtains are open in both of those scenarios.
Absolutely.
Enough
said.
There's not many cruise ships where they actually have the windows and the balconies facing back into the cruise ship. The Oasis class does. Could you imagine, forgetting and you're changing while the parade's going on in the Royal Promenade?
Right.
Yeah.
That would be bad.
Yeah, so as long as it's not noisy, I think those rooms would be great. The Central Park balcony, it was a little noisy. Like if your door was cracked just a little bit, you could hear what was going on,
absolutely,
up on the Lido, like the band and stuff like that. But I really like that room.
Oh, I loved it. And they also, on the Oasis, they also have maybe like 10 solo cabins that are down by the dining room that are underneath the like the deck that they run around.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's going to be noisy.
Yeah, but we have a couple of people that are booked on that on the Harmony Group cruise.
Oh, yeah?
And we've discussed it. Like, well, I have one gentleman that's, I'm going to bring my earplugs and the white noise, and I'm just going to be fine.
Yeah.
And that's a great attitude, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing, and I talked about it in the video, that you need to be aware of what's around you on the cruise ship.
Right.
Again, when we booked our first cruise, I don't think we were thinking about it, and we ended up in a portal room, at the very forward of the cruise ship, and we were like playing Wave Breaker every night. Like we were pushing the ship right through the waves, and it was every night it was a kush, kush. You had to get used to that noise, or you would not have been able to sleep. And then a big thump, and I think the anchor or one of the anchors was up there.
Oh, goodness, yes.
It was kind of crazy. So big ship versus small ship. So, crowds would bother me, but I think big ships have a way to deal with the crowds. We've seen that on the Oasis. Amenity and food selection, I got to give it to the big ship. You're going to get everything that you need on the small ship, but you're definitely going to have more selection on the big ship. The ability to get around, though, I got to give that to the small ship. I mean, on these smaller ships, you can go front to back. And so if you're worried about mobility, if you're worried about walking around a lot, I wouldn't not go on a big ship. I think everybody should go on an Oasis class ship. But, if you want to just make sure you don't have a lot of traveling to do, small ship is a winner for that. And then possibly, I mean, you brought it up, possibly the ability to be a part of the vibe may be better on a small ship, especially if you got like an active cruise director or something like that.
Well, and for me, I have to say, I think that the Sunrise, again, I'm going to go back to the Sunrise, is the perfect ship.
Is that your favorite ship now?
I don't know if it's my favorite. Like there were little details that I wasn't too thrilled about.
Yeah.
Like balcony size, that kind of thing. But I think that it had everything that I enjoy, right?
Right.
Not that I go to it, but the Alchemy Bar was a beautiful area. It had the Red Frog pub. It had, what else did it have? It had
a Blue Iguana.
Had the Blue Iguana, had the guys.
The Java Blue Coffee Bar.
It had, the coffee shop was just, I loved the coffee shop.
I think it might have had a casino.
Of course it had a casino, but it also has some specialty dining as well.
Yeah, it had bonsai sushi there.
It was very easy to get back and forth throughout that whole ship. They did a great job with the rehab on it.
Yeah, I'm going to give you that. There's a lot of things on the Sunrise, and that's kind of a medium-sized ship, but that was an easy ship to get from front to back. And again, it depends what your cruising personality is. For you, you like to have some a casino that's good, right? That's accessible, easy to get to. You like different food options,
right?
And you like comfortable sitting spaces.
That's right.
And it had all those things.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't overly big. So for me, the only downside for that for me is I just want some better entertainment. Like that's part of my cruising personality. I want like shows that are going to blow my mind.
Right.
So I guess that's the quest that I'm on.
The theater was beautiful there, though.
The theater was great, and what I really like, I didn't think I would like this before. You know, the Carnival's going to this liquid lounge concept where they're no longer having like these fixed seats on the main floor.
Right.
And I thought, well, this is horrible. Why are they doing this? But it turned out to be really great because it became a space that they could use a lot of different ways. And the seating was super comfortable there. Again, I would like some different kind of shows, maybe some bigger productions, but I had a good time with the entertainment on the Sunrise. Now you're making me want to cruise on the Sunrise again, Jenny.
Right.
It's tough. It's tough because, I'm ready to go on another Oasis class ship.
Right.
But I had a blast on the MSCC side. Great entertainment. The layout wasn't as open, kind of a little bigger ship. I also love the Celebrity Equinox. I love the layout on that ship. And I had a blast on the Sunrise. So, I mean, I think the thing that comes out through all this is like all the ships are good.
It doesn't matter what size
it really
they
doesn't
are.
matter. I think if you're somebody that's going to try to be all over the ship and you might get a little worn out with the walking, that kind of thing, maybe go a smaller ship. But for the most part, I think you're going to be fine on whatever size.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm interested. What do you guys out there think about cruise ship size? Do you like a small ship? Do you like a big ship? Shoot me an email, tony@lidoloca.com. I would love to hear your opinion.
So what is your favorite ship? It's hard to say, right? Like they were all wonderful in their own different way.
If I'm going to say that I am a cruise show entertainment person,
Right.
and that's my criteria for saying what's my favorite, I got to see Cats. I got to see an Olympic diving show. I got to see an Olympic ice skating show. I've not seen anything better than that.
No.
I
have to agree.
So I would have to say Oasis, but I mean, the shows on the MSCC side, the shows, that I saw in Spectrum of the Seas, there's some stiff competition, but if I'm going solely on being an entertainment guy and maybe a food guy, the food was really good on the Oasis also. So I don't know, but if I'm choosing pizza, I got to pick like a Carnival ship, I think.
See, and I loved the pizza on Royal.
Yeah, you like the
well, and I just love the
Sorrento's
vibe.
better. Yeah.
You know, on the Oasis, it was like you were in a pizzeria, in New York.
What about lunchtime pasta?
Yeah.
That's cucina on Carnival. See, I mean, it's so hard to pick. That's why you got to try them all.
Yeah.
Cruising's a bit like Pokemon. You got to catch them all.
That's right.
You got to catch them all. Yeah, so we don't get too news heavy here, but we can't have this podcast this week without talking about the coronavirus.
We cannot.
It's so dominant, and so I've been checking. They have a live map, and this thing is spreading really quick. So a few days ago, the number of confirmed cases was in the 2,000-3,000s. I looked today, 17,000 confirmed cases, and like 326 people have passed away from the coronavirus.
Wow. Do you know how many countries it's affected now?
It's a lot. I don't know. I mean, I think it's getting up into the 20s and 30s of countries that have people. And what we've seen from the cruise line is a pretty strong response. All the cruise lines in the beginning have said, look, we're going to increase the way we screen for this. So they're looking for people that have high temperatures. The challenge with this coronavirus is that sometimes it takes 14 days for it to manifest, for people to start showing symptoms. And so as time has gone on, all the major cruise lines have come out and said, anybody that's been to China in the last 14 days, we're no longer allowing you on the cruise ship.
Right.
There was a scare earlier in the week for a Costa cruise, the Smeralda, where a lady was showing respiratory symptoms and she was also showing a high fever. They locked down the whole cruise ship. They were getting ready to go into Rome, and they locked down 6,000 people until they could test and find out whether or not this lady had the actual coronavirus. She was from China. And it turns out she didn't, but man, it's a scary time, I think, for cruising, and it doesn't necessarily have to be just cruising to China. And I've seen some stories, and I want to ask you what you would do if you had there are some cruise lines that are continuing to hold on to their Asian itineraries. These may not be itineraries that go directly to China, but they may be, itineraries that go into the area, that go into Singapore, or go into Thailand, areas like that, where there's a lot of cases of this coronavirus. And some cruise lines aren't canceling their cruise, and so you're not going to get a refund unless the cruise line cancels your cruise, or unless you have like travel insurance that has cancel anytime protection, which not a lot of people get that because it's expensive. I read
Well, and you have to get it within 14 days also.
Yeah.
So
that's let's throw that out there. If and I found this out during hurricane season. If you have not booked your travel insurance and say that you hear that Hurricane Maria is going to come close to where you're traveling to, after that is out in the news, you cannot book insurance that will cover Hurricane Maria.
That's right.
And I don't think everybody gets that. You can't, and, you know, this isn't something that you know, like in this case, you can't all of a sudden go, okay, give me cancellation insurance.
Right.
So there was a lady that they lost, they had a family of 7, and I think they lost $35,000 because they decided they're not going to go. They were supposed to go somewhere in the affected area. What would you do if you had $35,000 on the line? The cruise line is not canceling your cruise. You don't have insurance that will cover it. Is it worth the risk, or are you just going to lose $35,000? I'm
going to lose $35,000.
You're not going over there.
Nope.
I know. Especially when the government, this is what bothers me. If the United States government is saying don't travel to those areas, the cruise lines should cancel those cruises.
I totally agree. But where are those cruise lines leaving from, right?
Yeah.
You know, so that's what you have to think too. Like, I'm sure that they're not leaving from U.S. ports.
They're not leaving from U.S. ports, no. But these are cruises that are kind of geared toward Westerners to take them to Asian ports.
Right.
And
but if if our government is saying don't do it, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, no, I'm the same.
I'm losing $35,000.
Could you imagine?
I of course it would.
It's not worth your life.
It would make me sick just to lose that money. But I mean, I just would not want to risk anyone in my family's life just because of money.
Would that turn you off from cruising forever?
No.
You would keep cruising?
Absolutely, but you make sure that you get trip insurance.
Yeah. I would definitely get the cancel anytime. I don't know what it
costs. That's a hard lesson to learn right there.
That's a hard lesson to learn. And then there's another story that I'm working on a video for where when this happened, so it was a cruise, a P&O cruise out of Australia that started on the 28th of January, kind of right when this coronavirus thing was, you know, really ramping up. And they went through and they screened passengers. They put them on board, and there were 81 passengers on board with a Chinese passport.
Mm.
Now, the final destination of that cruise is in Singapore. Well, somewhere along the way during that cruise, Singapore said, we're not accepting any people from China.
Wow.
And so the P&O has a tough decision. They can't go to Singapore because they're not going to... You know, it's one of those deals, they won't just let them keep the... We saw this with a story last year of a couple who didn't have the proper visa to get into China.
Right.
And China said, look, either everybody's good on the ship or nobody gets off.
Right.
So that's the situation with this P&O ship. They've got 81 people that the government in China, or the government in Singapore, is not going to allow them to disembark. And it's like that Chinese situation where either everybody can get off or nobody can get off. So they did this thing. It's the first time I'd ever heard the term called a compassionate disembarkation.
Okay.
And so to make it easier on the people to not get turned away in Singapore, they let them off at another city in Australia. And I think they're going to help them find a way home. But could you imagine just getting kicked off because of, you know, your passport being a Chinese passport?
Well,
it's extreme times.
It is extreme times, and I feel horrible for those 81 people. But I mean, you know, the whole world is trying to figure this out.
Safety first,
right?
It's going to be interesting. I think we're not even into the middle game of this. I think this is just the beginning. And it's going to be interesting to see how this affects cruising going forward. Of course, you know, cruising down to the Caribbean, all that stuff, none of that's really being affected. But, you know, we are seeing cases in the United States. You know, the U.S. brought home all of its Americans that were living in China, and immediately they put those people into quarantine. So they landed in California. Now they're in a 14-day quarantine. There was a lady who came home from China, and she infected her husband and possibly their grandchild. So,
oh goodness!
In Chicago, you got the first person-to-person transmission from somebody who wasn't in China has it, and so it's interesting. There's a lot of people that talk about how there's other things that are that will kill people, and
absolutely.
But this is a crazy thing that's going on, and it's ramping up quickly, and all the world organizations are saying you got to keep an eye on it.
Right, and especially when a cruise ship, an illness can run rapid.
Oh yeah.
So there have been strong letters that have gone out to our clients. That, I mean, some of them are super scared about it, and I get it. But they're taking every precaution that they can.
Right. That's the thing. If I was somebody that lost a bunch of money, that would be frustrating.
Right.
I think that's usually what it comes down to. Maybe this is the only time you have for vacation, and now your vacation is disrupted.
Right.
But this is a fairly extenuating circumstance, like something that nobody could predict. We say it in a lot of situations. Another good reason to have travel insurance, and travel insurance isn't covering all this. So you got, I think the only one that would be the silver bullet for this is where you purchase the cancel anytime for any reason insurance,
right?
Because this story with the people that lost, so the people that lost the $35,000, they actually had trip protection with the cruise line. Perfect. But since the cruise line's not canceling, they're like, sorry, we don't. Pandemic is not a reason that you can cancel your cruise that we haven't canceled.
We gotta look at third party, see if it does.
It's pretty. I really think that cancel anytime is going to be the only thing that's covering some of this. But yeah, so coronavirus, obviously, we'll probably continue to talk about it, but it's a serious thing, and it's definitely affecting cruising.
Yeah, it's a little scary.
A little scary. All right. So the only other thing I really wanted to talk about today is, of course, we're going on the breakaway in 40 days. Are we going to go on a cruise anytime before that?
I was just going to interrupt you and say, did you book a cruise for February for our anniversary?
We have not booked a cruise yet.
We always cruise in February.
What are we going to do that or what?
We have got to.
All right. Stay tuned. Possibly an announcement of a February cruise. We don't have anything lined up, but
we have to.
We have to book a cruise.
Yeah. We can't not cruise in February.
So I do have a couple other announcements. Again, if you need any help with your travel, a lot of what we do here at Lido Loca is funded by our travel business.
That's
Jenny and I are both travel agents, and we are happy to use the knowledge that we have when it comes to cruising to help you out, and it doesn't cost anything. That's the beautiful thing. The cruise lines recommend that you use a travel agent, and look, honestly, let's be real here. Jenny's the real travel agent of the both of us. I just look pretty and talk about it. But if you need any help with your travel at all, you have any questions, please reach out to Jenny at the email address jbarnette@cruiseshipcenters.com. If you already have a cruise and you need some help getting that moved over, getting an extra set of eyes on there, we can do that. And if you want to cruise with us, that's really meet and greets are fun, but going on a week-long cruise with us, you really get some time to hang out. And we have a series of group cruises. Our website is www.lidoloca.com. And if you do a /group cruise, you can see cruises that we have coming up. We're cruising out of New Orleans. We're cruising in Alaska. We're going to the Caribbean. We're going on Carnival. We're going on Royal. We're going on Norwegian. So any of those things that scratch your itch, any of those things that you like, we probably have you covered. And look, if you want to represent the Loca fam, we got T-shirts. I'll leave that link below. And if you want some extra content, go check us out on Patreon. We're at www.patreon.com/LaLidoLoca. And please, please, please come join us on Facebook at the Lido Loca Cruising Community. It's where the Loca fam lives. There's over 10,000 cruisers strong, ready to interact, make friends, and talk about cruising. And that's what it's all about.
It is. It's so much fun over there.
All right. I think that is it for the commercial. And that is it for episode 9, a short episode. So much going on with coronavirus, big ship versus small ship. We would love to hear your feedback. If you have a chance, leave us a review over there on iTunes. Again, my name's Tony.
We're going to go book a cruise for February?
Yes.
Are we going to go on the Oasis that's been redone?
Yes. I'll watch Cats again.
You're
the
so
Rum-Tum Tugger is a curious cat.
I'm sorry. Let's get out of here.
This is Tony.
And I'm Jenny.
And we are Lido Loca. And until the next episode,
We'll see you on the Lido.
We'll see you on the Lido.
Bye.
Bye.